We are Greg and Leah, the host of Evolve, the #1 podcast about relationships, and not just the tender or toxic romantic ones, but all kinds of relationships with many people, places, and paths.
And we aren't here because we know or understand it all, simply because we are working to evolve and asking others to join the evolution.
So join us in this next episode of Evolve.
Welcome to another episode of Evolve with
Greg
and Leah. Today's is going to be a little maybe controversial for some people and not for others. So
I don't know. Yeah.
Let's just dive in. Today is June, the beginning of June or mid-June, and as many people know, whether you like it or don't like it, June is quote-unquote Pride Month. And I'm just saying quote-unquote because it's also a lot of people don't realize months are many things, like, you know, all at once, but we do focus mostly on Pride Month. And where we live, it's, would you say, like, very conservative? It depends which part of town you're in.
Well, not where we live. It's not very conservative. It's very
If you go just a mile or two east, you are in very conservative territory. If you go like half a mile, a quarter of a mile west, not even, it's extremely liberal. And where do you think we fit in the most?
Right now, I would say
You'd go west?
I would go west.
Go west, young man.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring this topic up because this morning on the news, it did talk about a politician that some of you may know. I'm not going to be afraid to say names in this world and this society, but Dave Williams is quoted. I'm not saying anything against him in this second right now. This is just quoting what he said to, you know, tell everyone to burn the pride flags and how he doesn't really care, you know, what happens in his political career because he has to spread the biblical message. And he is pretty passionate about this.
Maybe he should read the Bible.
And that's where I feel like, now I will say our opinion. I feel like anyone who promotes violence, quote, I'll say like, you know, quotes violence or asks people to do violent things on their platform politically, or even like a celebrity. If you're promoting a violent act towards a group of people, I don't really feel like you are acting unmotivated out of love at all. At all. So I don't care if you call yourself liberal. I don't care if you call yourself conservative. If you are asking someone to do something to someone's territory, their body, their property, you are in the wrong. That's kind of my feeling at this point. So with this month being Pride Month, with this news just coming out in the last few days of his stance, and even the Republican Party I read was the GOP Republic is asking him to be stepping down. Because I guess he's just that much like, I don't care about anything. I'm going to promote the Word of God and the Bible. And I like what you just said. Maybe you need to read the Bible.
I mean, if people actually did what Jesus said,
if we were going to live the red letters,
not the interpretations of everybody's shit, but what Jesus said, then this world would be a much better place.
Yeah, if we did and he hung out with the prostitutes and the homosexuals and the sinners and the thieves and yet in our current society, even ourselves, I'm ashamed to say, in our past,
yes.
not where we are anymore, in our past, we were very judgmental of anyone that was exactly what Christ would have hung out with. Honestly, let's be honest.
Yeah. We're not living
It's just crazy. So I also was telling Greg, I just finished this book. It's a fictional book by Byron Lane, and it's called Big Gay Wedding. I believe it came out, was it last year or so? Maybe even older. I'm not sure. But it's such a good book. 2023 it came out. And it's a great story. I was trying to summarize to Greg before we started recording of what the story is. And essentially it is a gay young man who comes home to Louisiana, a small town that's very conservative, to tell his mom, not that he's gay, but that he is actually going to get married, and that he would like to do it on the family farm. You have to read this book. This is probably, I do not laugh out loud. I do not cry in books. Like, I love books, but I don't typically have external reaction. This book, I was laughing out loud. I think there was a point that I got a little bit teary-eyed because it's just, Byron does a really good job writing this book.
Narrates it, isn't he?
And the narrator, I will say I read it and also was listening to the audiobook. So I guess if I have a book rec, that would be my book rec for today. Is The Big Gay Wedding. It's just called Big Gay Wedding by Byron Lane. And in here, I just wanted to read a piece of this. I've been not returning it to the library because I wanted to talk to Greg about this and read this out loud, because there's a part in here that I just feel like everyone needs to hear, but definitely get the book for yourself. So the part that I'm going to read real quick, and then we can kind of talk about it, see what your feelings are on this, is kind of towards the end. The wedding is already happening. The town has been like, not rioting, what's the word, protesting against this wedding. And the two men who want to get married are just really, struggling, and it's starting to affect them psychologically, emotionally. The mom, who is the main character in the story, as well as the son, she's also struggled to accept this of her son. She thought maybe it was a phase, but it's not. And so she actually almost, I won't say she denounces at a certain point her faith, but you'll see if you read the book what happens to her. So this part that I'm going to read is towards the end. It's the wedding day. They decided, the parents just said, you know what, let's invite the whole town. Forget this. Everyone's invited. A couple people had vandalized their property on the barn and wrote fag all over it, spray painted it, and just, they were like, you know what, everyone's so curious about this, everyone's invited. So this is where it opens up. So the mom of the fiance is the one who, her name is Victoria, which I'll read her part, what happens here. So it says, the homophobe at the front gate is soon joined by others, their dusty sedans and pickup trucks lining the ditch, and slam, slam of their vehicle doors, signaling more, and more on the way. The growing crowd is generally well dressed for the occasion, like it's just like they're coming for mass. Is everyone here? Victoria asked. Victoria is the mom of the fiance. I'd hate for anyone to miss this. She looks down at the dog. He sits his tail frantic in the dirt, his butt wiggling with excitement. Shame on you, a woman in the crowd shouts. Another man pipes up. It's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Don't make me throw up, Victoria says. It'll ruin my lipstick. The original trespasser, the first to confront her, looks at his cohorts. We think homosexuality is unnatural. Well, so is Coca-Cola, shouts Victoria. So is your washer and dryer. And you know what? So is your deodorant and ugly makeup and duvet covers and doctors and surgeries and your high cholesterol and erection medications. They're all unnatural, people. And who are you people? The nature police? You look like fools to me. Jesus is the only salvation, yells someone in the crowd. Oh, for goodness sakes, are your genitals clean? Victoria asks loudly. What? Says a man with horror. Your penis and your perineum and anus, are they clean? You're a sick, sick woman. Me? You brought it up. You showed up here. You seem to care so much about my son's genitals and what my son does with those genitals that I'd like to return the favor and ask you, what do you do with yours? Do you have sex often? And if so, what position? That is none of my business. Yeah, very nice, very observant, and very interesting. Because what you think is none of my business, I think certainly is none of yours.
Yep.
And here you are yet, in my face, trespassing on this beautiful farm, talking about my son, a man you've never met. Victoria steps forward, advancing on the man, and he steps back and back and back, his crowd of fellow congregants parting and swirling around him like he's a thick oil and she is vinegar. Soon, Victoria and her dog are center stage. Victoria turns slowly around, making eye contact with many townsfolk as she can. You people, she says, you're hypocrites and assholes. You bad neighbors. You're bad Christians. Jesus was friends with prostitutes, beggars, murderers, the fun people. Is your presence here a reflection of that? No. You're an angry mob, the same one Jesus scolded. Your behavior out here is shameful, dishonorable, undemocratic, and poorly styled. Victoria allows her eyes to land on one of the more matronly dressed bigots. But, Victoria continues, you're also victims. You're also confused. You've all been misled, probably by some generic-looking old white man who gets paid a lot of money to tell you to hate someone else.
Yep.
What could be more evil than that? And why? Why would someone hold up an old book originally written in a language he can't even understand and tell you what it says? And why would you believe it sight unseen? And why would you take his orders and take aggressive action on them? And this sin, why this sin? Because it's an easy target. You're all tools
So
for
it
a
kind of
bully.
reminds me of the story
Straight
in the
married
Bible
men
where
are the biggest
these
threat to
righteous
your children.
pricks
It's straight
bring
married men
this
who are
girl
more
who
likely
was
to be
caught in an act of
pedophiles.
adultery.
Straight men
Right.
are by
Throw her
far
at
the
Jesus'
most
feet,
common
and he
perpetrators of
says,
assault, murder, domestic violence,
person- they were gonna
child sex
stone her.
trafficking, and white
Right.
collar
And they're
crimes that
asking,
rob your
yeah, they
pensions.
per-
Are you
what can you say
protesting
about
them?
this? Because there are laws.
I told you
and
this
all
would be
their
good.
righteous-
And they were trying to catch him in a place that they could, like, oh, let's see if he'll break the laws here.
Right.
That's what the whole intention was, according to the scripture.
And according to the scripture, he says, you who has the least amount of sin, or who has no sin,
Right.
you cast the first stone. And it's funny, like she just went after one of the leader righteous people.
Yeah.
Well, in the story, the oldest righteous person leaves first.
Yeah. Because
And
they know.
they
They've
know.
been living longer. They've been
Yeah.
sinning longer.
And each one of them probably had a hand in the girl on the ground anyway. But
So let me finish this last part
Oh,
here.
sorry,
But
sorry,
I just, oh no, it's fine. I think it was a good interruption. It's fine.
I'm just going to use the
And it's
Bible
just-
against the asshole that was preaching shit that he was
Yeah.
going to preach.
So the crowd obviously goes silent, some looking down, some look embarrassed by a long overdue scolding. As wedding attendees begin to arrive and jeer at the group, a few in the crowd still want to challenge her, but they think a little bit better of it. So I think it is kind of like that story where they kind of all get silenced. In summation, Victoria says, gay people have been around since the beginning of time. Quit acting surprised. Sodom and Gomorrah is a fictional story. Religion is a huge, profitable business and always has been. No one can turn you gay, just like no one turned you straight.
Right.
And that's the biggest fear. I'm just going off of the book here, but I feel like I will say from our point of view, where we used to come from in a religious background, it was, if we have a son, so we were like, if a gay man's around our son, he's going to molest him, or he's going to turn him gay, or he's going to all this stuff. And I never thought about that till I read this, about how it's, if you look at the statistics of, like she said here, perpetrators, murderers, violence, domestic violence, sex trafficking, it is your straight man.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it necessarily has a higher color, like it's more white men, probably. I don't know those stats for myself to be able to quote, but we do all this protesting as if like they're going to be contagious and it's going to rub off on our kids.
Some of the things that I have learned in the past with the people that have been banging the pulpit about their whatever it is they're banging the pulpit against are the worst offenders of them all.
Oh, you find out they have like the
thing.
most disgusting, dirty secrets.
It's like
just
every one of these
horrid.
people that get up on front of and want to pound the righteousness hammer and say, you know,
especially around sexuality,
right?
Whether that's like pornography or
like,
whether it's child stuff or
it is, and so
I don't know. I mean,
I didn't like it when I was in it. People that would preach against stuff like that.
Yeah,
so I
that wasn't like our world.
We tried to preach what we interpret the word to say, and how our beliefs were. We're just like the crowd there.
Oh yeah, we were, and that's why I said I shamefully can say like, oh my God, this was where we lived, but now where we're at in the last like 5-10 years is not the same place at all.
No.
And we have many, I mean, even here, we have a couple that just left, a gay couple. They've been together for years. I would say that the couples we've met are the nicest people I've ever met so far.
Yet to meet
just good people. So finishing on page 235 here, Victoria says to the rest of the crowd, she says, shame on all of you for your willful ignorance, wasting everyone's precious time and causing so much unnecessary suffering. Now, unless you have something relevant to present, get the hell off my gay future son-in-law's property, post haste. And there's a couple of people that are, there to support the family and to support the marriage. They cheer and whoop, and the dogs are all barking. And it says, the crowd becomes unnervingly quiet as a woman steps forward from the group. Her posture is stiff as Chrissy's. Chrissy is the mom of the main character. Her graying hair swept into a tight bun. With both hands, she holds a tattered Bible close to her heart. The worn book matches the worn fabric of her dress. She approaches Victoria, but then pivots to the man who started all this ruckus. So this is just someone in the crowd who was a bigot to begin with, and says, "Get in the truck, Earl." The man says not another word, silenced like a smoke alarm smashed with a broom handle. His eyes lower and he takes a sip of breath, as if something inside him is drowning. He looks back up. He turns. He walks away. The woman loosens her grip on the Bible. She nods once at Victoria, slowly, thoughtfully, words wholly inadequate. Victoria nods back like she's had this kind of conversation before, Like, this kind of solemn ritual is the only possible way for some women to communicate about certain men. Excuse me, sorry. Where was I? Certain... Before Victoria can further process what happened or consider which holy spirit of persuasion swept over the tiny group in the tiny farm in the tiny town, the woman is also gone. Victoria looks at the silent stragglers and pushes her shoulders back, trying to relieve her entire body's discomfort she's been managing. And she looks around and says, "Now, if the rest of you will please excuse me, I think my organs are failing." And that's because there's a story behind her of being alcoholic and stuff like that. But it's just, I wanted to read that part. When I read it, I thought, oh my gosh, this is so needed to be heard and shared, because I love what she says and such good points that she makes in the process. So, you know, coming back around to this political person who's trying to promote a message of hate and segregation and separation, Dave Williams has not got the message correctly, and it's not coming from love.
There's another situation that I'm recalled in where these righteous assholes come to Jesus again, and they say something about if this person marries this brother and the brother dies, and then she by the law says marries and this and that and everything, when they're in the kingdom after 4 or 5, because I guess their laws said that if the husband died, the brother had to marry them or something. So after 7 times that this happens, whose wife is she in the heavens? And he says, "You got this shit all wrong. There is neither
said that?
male." He probably did.
Yeah.
There's probably. He said this. He said, "Quote: There, you got it all wrong. There is neither male or female in the kingdom of heaven. There is no gender.
Right.
It is they and them. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's." Never mind. I'm just going to be righteously unrighteously indignant.
And I knew this topic would be a little emotional.
When I heard this shit on this morning's news, I was just trying to find the weather out, and this guy's going to burn gay flags, and I'm like, oh my God. And what was the worst is I feel ashamed, because we've thought that same... I don't know about the extreme...
Hand me a paper towel. Sorry, I got hair dye on my hands.
Oh, great. As we're doing this podcast, I'm dyeing Leah's hair. So we're
my gosh,
in the middle of...
So we will take a short break in a few minutes here, because I got to go rinse the dye out. But yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying, where like we've been in these shoes.
I have not been to the place where I'm going to start protesting against that. I've never stepped out, and I've never been that bold.
Never, and that's the thing.
Maybe for our family. And,
I will say a lot of people are cowards in the sense that they will talk this talk and like talk this nastiness to family and friends they know, but they would never get up and say that.
And that was us. We would talk our talk, but we're not going to get up in front. So for this guy to have, you know, such strong feelings,
such a soapbox to stand on.
You know, I give him kudos for the actual balls to say the thing, but it's going to it should destroy his career. I hope it does.
And that's what it sounds. It sounds like it could very possibly. But he even said, "I don't care. I have to spread the word, and I'm going to live by the Bible."
Spreading what he believes.
And it's like, if we really, I mean, Greg and I don't follow those principles anymore. We live by being motivated out of love. But I don't really know what we label ourselves anymore. I don't call myself a Christian. You don't call yourself a Christian. Like, that's the most repulsive label I can think of at this point.
I don't call myself a Christian because of the way what Christianity stands for.
And what we have, we know what the ugliness we came from. I'm not interested in identifying with that anymore. Yeah. Right now, I just feel like I don't need to label what I believe. And it's none of anyone's business. I like what she said in this story, where it's like, oh, what do you do? Are your genitals clean? Because apparently this is important that we know what everyone's doing with their genitals and where they're going, because you want to know about my sons, I'm going to ask about yours. Like, we don't ask that of a straight couple. We don't mock and, we don't ask, oh, what do you do in bed and how you doing it?
Did you do missionary last night, or
did
you do doggy style?
But I will say there are some people who do, like, preach that, like,
there's only one way
conservative.
To have sex.
Oh, my God. But anyways... I only have about 30 seconds here, and then I got to go jump on and get the dye. We got to rinse the dye out. But, this is a month that people are supporting or supposed to be supporting one another for whatever choices they want to make. I would say take the box off of all these things, like Mental Health Awareness Month and all these other months that we have, and women's health and women's awareness. Let's just love people all the freaking time.
Yes.
Let's stop just trying to make it be a month to only recognize things. Just let your actions be motivated out of a love and a care for genuinely human people, and that they are. I was just listening to another book I'm reading, Lessons in Chemistry. That's another one that's not about sexuality as much as just women and men in society in the 50s and 60s, like where women ranked and the stuff that happened. Oh my gosh. But it's a really good book. But in there, she's also talking about just how every human shares 99.9% DNA. Like, we all come from a central ancestor.
Right.
So let's stop the racism. Let's stop. Like, we don't need to have a Black Awareness Month and, Black Pride Month and a Pride sexuality awareness. Let's just freaking love people regardless of the day, the year, or the month that it is. So that's where I'm coming from. That's my point of view at this point. I support whatever it is you want to do with your life, but I don't support when you promote violence.
Yeah.
When you support segregation, when you want to support separation of people, cultures. Now, if people just feel better grouping together because, like, you're Italian and you just speak only Italian and you just feel more comfortable with Italians, I don't feel like I should call that racist because you just want to hang out with your crowd. That's just familiarity. But if I also am an Italian and I want to be with every culture of the world, it's okay too. Like, let people be people.
I think
without the violent part
having
of it.
a Pride Month is not a bad thing, because
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
It brings awareness. We wouldn't even known.
That's not true. I don't think that it brings any awareness to any level of anything. To me, I don't feel like. Because I've known that there's people who are gay since I was a child. They didn't bring out an awareness. What it's supposed to be doing is my opinion of any kind of month's awareness. A lot of it is just marketing. Like
true.
Hallmarky, like mother. I will say this, so don't anybody get offended about this. I just don't like holidays in general. Like, I feel like they've been hallmarked to death. I enjoy the seasons, and like I love when fall comes around now that we've had a full season of stuff. I love when winter is here, and I love the holidays that it brings, but like I hate that we have over marketed everything. So support your gay friends or your trans friends.
Every day of the week.
Every day of the week. If you want to have a flag today, have it today. If you want it in December, have it in December. But like, don't go buy the marked up, overpriced gay pride flag in June. Buy it another time. Like, and that's my thing. I hate marketing, and what we've become is this marketing, like, suck hole of...
It's true.
Of taking every penny out of everyone. So I don't really feel like awareness months really brings awareness the way that it's supposed to. It brings protest and riots, and it doesn't really bring the proper kind of attention, I feel, which is just love each other. But people could hate me on it for saying that. That's just my feeling. So I gotta go rinse this stuff out of my hair. Do you have any comments you want to throw out before we wrap it up here?
Well, there's one. Yeah, just I'll say this. I used to see this sign or this license plate that said coexist, and it had all the little
we used to hate that.
I have actually, I'd like to replace the word love to acceptance. Because until you accept somebody or something, you don't love them.
Yeah.
You don't. It's all motivated by your own self bullshit. Because unless you accept it, acceptance is you care about them and all that they are, and you let them be whoever they are.
Yeah.
Or what they are, or whatever. You're accepting them.
Well, and that's where you said, if people really lived by the scriptures, including us when we were living in that world,
true.
You would even be able to say love covers a multitude of sin.
Right.
But the question that started unraveling us, and we'll end here if you don't have anything else to say, is
what is
the
sin?
question, what is sin?
That's
sin? What started unraveling our path like 5 years ago. Or so.
More
maybe
than
a little
five,
more.
More than 5 years,
And that is, if you are willing to answer that and dive deep into that answer for yourself, you might be a little surprised of what comes up for you.
Right.
So... anyways, that was our soapbox for today. I don't know, is it a soapbox, I guess? We were kind of pushing. But,
like, subscribe, and make a comment. We want to hear what you have to say. Yeah.
Definitely. And in the end, just love your neighbor. And I would love to add love your neighbor as yourself, but too many people don't love themselves. And that's why they can't love their neighbor. So until next time, we just ask that you be evolving people.